So I'm here tonight with Barbara O'Neill, who is in Spain at the moment. How are you, Barbara? How is Spain?
Really enjoying it. Thanks, Steve.
And you're in a 300-year-old house, is that right?
Apparently it was about 300 years ago. It had a mill underneath it. You see, right next to it is this beautiful waterfall and river coming out of the mountains. And they used it like a hydroelectric system to turn the wheel of the big mill. And apparently people from all over the area came to grind their flour. So it's got a lot of history.
And do you feel that the venue itself can make a big difference to the lecture that you do?
I think it always does. I don't have notes. Wherever I just adjust to that area.
You've got a good memory.
Well, I've worked on it.
Is it something that you can improve, do you think? Do you think you can get better at it?
I certainly think there is. There are some basic guidelines like practice makes perfect and practice makes permanent. There's no doubt about that, and that's how we learn new languages and learn the piano, etc. It's very similar with learning new information.
And we are fortunate enough to be having you coming to an event in Scotland soon, where you're going to be joining us for 6 days. You arrive on the Monday and you leave on the Sunday, Barbara. You sometimes don't know what your diary is, but you know you're coming to Scotland.
I do.
So I've got a couple of questions. You were once a Scottish dancer as a child. You've got Scottish relatives from way back in Australia.
That's right. I'm fifth generation. Scottish descent. My grandmother used to tell me that, and both sides of my family are from Scotland. My mother's name was Scott, and my father's name is Fernby, and my understanding is I think we're on the border of Scotland and England, and I'm one of 5 children, and 3 of us learnt Scottish dancing when we were children.
Well, that's good, because one of the things that we have planned for you is we're putting a little ceilidh together in your honour. And I believe you've won some medals in the past.
Yes, I did. I can't remember the exact timing, but I think I was Scottish dancing for 3 or 4 years, and I know that in Mum's drawer there are a few medals that I'd won in Scottish dancing.
Well, the band that we've got coming are very good. They're looking forward to seeing you. I think they're going to invite you up to do a little dance with them at some point with some swords or something.
Well, I did dance the sword dance with 500 other sword dancers at the Royal Easter Show when I was about, I don't know, I'm guessing it was probably about 11 or 12. And my father made the swords for me. They were wooden swords, and I certainly used to enjoy the sword dance.
Well, if you're up for that, I'm sure we'll get something going there that will be nice. But the key is for you to enjoy yourself and have a nice end to this event in Scotland.
Well, I'm sure I will. I'll just have to wear my kilt to that event.
Yes, you wear whatever you feel comfortable, and I'll put it up on the screen just now for anybody who's interested who might be watching. We still have some tickets available, but it's pretty much the ceilidh night sold out. There is a virtual ticket. We're spending a lot of money, Barbara, to get this recorded properly, and I think the goodwill and energy of people around the world watching us as we all get together for this event is actually quite important. So the more the merrier there. They're all welcome to join us from anywhere in the world.
Sounds great, Steve.
We're looking forward to it. And how much have things changed in Australia? Obviously, you grew up there. You've raised a family there. How do you feel Australia's changed, and has it changed for the worse or the better?
Well, unfortunately, Australia is changing. As a child, I grew up in a little country town, and mostly everyone knew each other. It was very warm. I go to the Presbyterian church, and the highlight of the year was the Sunday school picnic. The changes, I think, mostly are happening in Australia, and we saw it in COVID. The government brought in some pretty strong rules and some pretty strong mandates that took a lot of Australians by surprise, I think.
It's such a lovely country. I've got a son there who's 25. He's in Adelaide. My ex-partner was Australian. We wanted him to be born in Australia and have the dual citizenship. We always say he was made in Scotland, born in Australia, which is kind of the way it worked out.
That's a great heritage to have.
And while he was growing up, because my partner and I were not together, I spent a lot of time going over there. I've got a lot of friends there. Fell in love with the place. I absolutely loved it, and I was really disappointed to see how it's turned out. And I just hope, for Australia's sake, and any Australians watching, that Australia can get back to its former glory.
I think so. I mean, the heritage of Australia and the reputation of Australia is Aussie battlers, people who will stand for the right, and there certainly are people who are standing for right. But today, the media seems to control a lot of minds, and it'd be lovely to see Australians break away from that.
I totally agree. And you're traveling everywhere now, Barbara. You've got a beautiful place there at Misty Mountain. Where's home? Where do you call home?
Oh, yes. I love Australia, and Australia certainly is my home. I enjoy the traveling. I very much enjoy the people that I meet, but Australia is home.
And you've got Jacqueline on board now as a.
It's great. She's not with me all the time, but it's wonderful. I don't have to think. She just takes over, which is really, really nice. And my husband goes to great lengths to make my travel as easy as possible, and I certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, Michael's great. I don't know if you ever fully heard the story of how Michael and I started chatting. Do you know how that happened?
Well, I know he said to me, there's a bloke in Scotland who's ordering more and more and more books. I think it's something like that's how it started.
Yeah, so how I got in touch with Michael was, we've got a big following on Facebook with about 150,000 followers. And I must have liked a post on Facebook, and I got a message from Barbara O'Neill saying, please join our group. I looked at the group, photograph of Barbara O'Neill, 250, 300,000 followers. I thought, this is great. Barbara's on social media. And I immediately started posting to my group to say, when Barbara O'Neill calls and taps you on the shoulder and says, join my group, you listen, let's all go and join Barbara's group. And then my spider senses started tingling, and I thought, wait a minute, I don't know if that's Barbara. And I started to go online, and I looked up, found Misty Mountain. I made a phone call. I spoke to Robin, and I said, is Barbara on Facebook? Because I'm just about to tell all our followers to follow this page. She says, no, that's not Barbara. And then I said, okay, well, our customers are Barbara fans, would like to buy some books. And then she put me in touch with Michael, and then we bought some, and then we bought more, and they sold really quickly. And here we are now.
Oh, yes. But interesting with Michael and you, Michael said, I found this great guy in Scotland. He's selling so many books that we're going to start printing them in Scotland. He said, this guy's a great marketer. And so he actually went and visited you, didn't
he? We had a great time when Michael came. He met the family, met the kids. Sorry, my kids, because I talk about Barbara O'Neill all the time. My son's 10. And I said something to him recently, and he said, who told you? He said, who told you that? Barbara O'Neill. So they're little Barbara O'Neill fans as well, and they met Michael, and they were very pleased. So that was great. But yeah, no, Michael's amazing.
Yeah. With Michael, what you see is there's no surprises.
No, he's good. He's confident, and we got to know him over that time. And we really missed him when he left as well. It was a great. He spent a nice couple of days with us.
That's good.
And I met your other friend Ruth recently.
Oh yes,
Ruth.
She's
amazing.
She's great. That's how we actually got to know each other. It was through dialogue, and every few months she'd say something else, and then I loved her humor, and anything I said to do, she'd just do it. And that sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't do it. And I just loved her humor. And after dogging for a few years, I said, Michael and I are coming to Scotland for a holiday. She said, come and stay with me in my 200-year-old stone house. So I don't know, that might have been 2018 or 17, something like that. And I stayed with her in 2021. I stayed with her for a whole week. So we've certainly got to know well, to the point where I'm her Australian daughter and she's my Scottish mum.
Yeah, that's great. And she lives in Crieff where we're having the event for you. So you know the area well.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful part of Scotland, isn't it?
It's a beautiful part of Scotland because when I stayed with her for, I think it might have even been a couple of weeks, every morning early I go walking. And her friends used to say, we think Barbara knows more about Crieff than we do now. I'd go right up, and I was really intrigued with the Crieff Hydro. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, that's where we're having the. Yeah, it's beautiful. That's where we're having the event. It's amazing.
Well, imagine my excitement when I learned that. I thought, it's great because it does have a history of water therapies.
It's an amazing place. It's a great family hotel. There's an amazing energy around the place.
Yeah, there is. It's very beautiful.
Barbara, just to talk on the scammers again and some of the things that these guys have been doing, they have created challenges because there's more and more of them leaping onto it. Now they're printing your books and they're printing other books. So again, in a non-stop effort to try and get the truth out there, there are 3 books in your suite just now. This was the first book that you wrote, which is a great book. Michael wrote this book about you and the challenges in Australia. And then recently you released Sustain Me.
Yeah.
That's it. There are 2 books you've written and Michael's written 1.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something that happened to me. I was in Virginia a few months ago, giving meetings to a few hundred people, signing books. And a lady gave me a book to sign. I opened it and I immediately saw something's wrong with this book. The cover was the same, but the pages weren't shiny. So I flicked through and it was all black and white. And I just said, this isn't my book. And I said, where did that? She said, Amazon, $70. And we sell my book for $50. So someone is printing my book on the cheapest paper and charging $20 more than what we charge. And Amazon, they don't know who's the real and who's not the real. And you wouldn't believe it. There was a man standing there and he gave $70 to this woman. He took the book. He said, leave it with me. One of my best friends runs Amazon. I'm just amazed at God's perfect timing. But what we had to do was get the copyright. So when we're able to show the copyright, then Amazon can act and take down the false ones. Yeah. So there are a lot of people out there.
There really is. I saw one the other day, Barbara, and right at the top of the page, it says, do you want a one-to-one consultation with me?
Oh, no. Yeah.
I mean, they are charging people probably $2 or $3 grand, Barbara, for a telephone call. It'll be AI generated, so they think they're speaking to you. It is shameful.
But the Bible says you can do nothing against the truth, only for the truth. And eventually, it'll be revealed. Michael told us a few days ago that the team has successfully took down 23 false sites.
It's really important as well because people are looking for answers, Barbara. They really are looking for answers. They're fed up taking pills. They're fed up getting operated on. They're fed up being in pain. They need some relief and natural remedies, and that what you say resonates with them.
I think that's why this information has exploded, because I think there's a few reasons. One, I think people were housebound a lot in 2020 and they're searching. I think another one is that people were confronted with the fact that some hospitals you couldn't go in unless you'd had the shot. And so people started to realise, I've got to learn about this body. I've got to start taking control. And I think the other reason is it's so simple. In fact, one interviewer said to me, we're calling you the grandmother of the world because they're all the old remedies.
Well, this is it, isn't it? It's that dying generation of grandmothers who handed down gifts of information.
See, I'm the grandmother now. I only know a few things because I got frustrated with, seeing that drugs weren't working, and I didn't want to give my children drugs. And one of the first remedies that I learnt about was when I was 25 and the old lady next door was 85. My child had an earache, and I asked her, what did her mother do? And she said, steam up an onion on the stove. Now, it worked so well. My son slept for 2 hours and never had another earache. That really skyrocketed me into there must be more. Now, this was 1980 when I had this experience, and I found a lot more.
And Barbara, a lot of your information that you now talk about has came from a lot of reading and research. And one of the books that you mention a lot is The Ministry of Healing.
It's probably one of my first books. Probably that and her book were my first books. And I just loved the simplicity. And there's a chapter in there called The Physician, the Educator, and that's what physician means. Section in there on natural remedies, and it's the only hope of better thing, the education of people in the right principles. Now that really struck my heart, because after a few years I had a few things up my sleeve. I really wanted to help other mothers, and it was probably 1992 that I gave my first health meeting.
This is the challenge, isn't it, Barbara? When people are in pain themselves and they want relief, they'll go to the doctor and they just want relief of some description. But when your kid's not well, it's traumatic for parents.
It is. It's very, very challenging. I get so many emails. I have help answering them now, but I said I want the ones from the mothers. I want to be able to answer those mothers, because I felt the frustration of not wanting to give my children drugs, but not knowing what to do. And because of 6 weeks and 4 courses of antibiotics with my first child with an earache, when my second child got it, I thought, I'm not going there. There must be something else. So in my desperation, I went to that old lady next door, Mrs. Party, and she gave me that onion recipe. And I just thank God for that, because I thought, if there's an onion for an earache, there must be more. There must be more. And there certainly is more. And one of the uniqueness about my experience, my information, is it's come from old ladies, it's come from books, it's come from study, it's from all over the place. And I quoted a verse that I found in the Bible. It's Psalm 2, verse 8, where God says, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Now, I grabbed onto that verse. And when I look back over the many years of my journey through health, I know that God brought me into contact with certain people. If someone says to me, Barbara, you should read this book, I get it straight away and I read it. And I don't hesitate when I see, read this or do this. I try it. And the beauty of natural remedies, if you try it and it doesn't work, you've lost nothing. But if you try the drug and it doesn't work, you've got all the side effects from the now.
One of the things you often say, and it's correct, 100% correct, is your body can heal itself if you give it the right conditions. But people are kind of numb to what their body's feeling now. I think they don't know if they've had enough to eat, they don't know if they're thirsty, they don't know if they've had enough sleep, they don't know whether they're allergic to something, or maybe something's going right. That saying, it went right through me. They don't know what's good for them, they don't know what's bad for them.
That's right. And I think it's the hardest thing for me, the hardest role I have, is to convince people that they can do it. And one thing I have to do is teach them to listen, because you're absolutely right, Steve. I think you've hit the nail on the head. People don't know how to read their bodies anymore. And that's hard. I said to one girl, well, how did that meal sit with your stomach? She said, I don't know. And I said, well, does your stomach feel lovely? Is it nauseous? Have you got pain? And sometimes people go, oh. In other words, they're not mindful of their body. So it's starting to be mindful. And if there's a problem, the body will tell you. But one book that someone told me to read in Italy that really changed some of the way I'm thinking about this. It's called The Gift of Pain by Dr. Paul Brandt. The gift of pain. Who would ever think pain is a gift? But as he shows, that pain has a purpose, that it's actually telling you something, and it needs you to listen to it. And if I'm driving along in the car, this is my first car, the Fiat, and if the oil was low, a little light would flash. Now, that blue light is annoying. So if I get a hammer and smash it, that's easy. Now I can drive. That blue light's not flashing at me anymore. But a few kilometres down the road, the engine stops. I've run out of oil. So that is probably a very simple illustration of pain. It's there to tell you something.
Well, this is it, and it's the gift of a bit of pain now to stop you from having agony and a horrible old age later, if you even make it that far when you've got kids and things. So I think illness is a gift as well, for sure. I like the title of that book, and it makes total sense.
That's right. It tells you, excuse me, can you stop? Can you listen? And this is one thing I got out of that book. If you don't listen to the first whisper, it starts screaming. And if it starts screaming, it's doing damage. So it's learning to listen to that first whisper.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like a little, I had a little pain in my thumb the other day, and I thought, that's a niggly little thing that I don't like. And I thought, imagine that times 10 when I'm 70 or 80.
Yeah.
And then it'd be so painful that you would go to the doctors and say, I'm in so much pain, and they were going to give you something that's just going to numb the pain, but not going to help the problem.
That's right. In fact, it struck me that medicine's not very scientific today. So what's the basic law of science is to find out the cause. And when anyone says to me, Barbara, what can I do for this? I always say, well, it all depends on why it's happening. So if someone says to me, Barbara, what can I do for my sore finger? I say, well, it all depends why this finger is sore. We need to investigate. How do we find out? We look at the history. When did this start? What was happening around that time? Questions. So I give them Rudyard Kipling's poem, the first stanza. I have 6 trusty serving men. All I know, their names are what, why, when, where, how, and who. We need to be asking those questions and taking them everywhere with us.
Yeah. And it is back again to this, asking the questions is one thing, and being mindful enough to understand what the answers could be to answer the questions properly, I think, is the challenge.
That's right. And the aim of my book, Sustain Me, was to create a handbook of natural remedies so that every home, every naturopath has this book. And if there's a problem, you can look it up. Now, I don't claim to answer every single problem. I think I've covered quite a variety. And my book, Self-Heal by Design, that looks at the true role of microorganisms in disease. And I endeavour to show that germs don't cause disease. They're the result of unhealthful conditions. So that book is totally different to Sustain Me, whereas Sustain Me, it's a handbook on natural remedies.
I think it's really important. I mean, Self-Heal by Design, this army of parasites and germs and friendly bacteria, unfriendly bacteria inside you are looking to live with you or turn you back to dust.
That's right, the cycle of life. And if everyone totally understood that, I don't think the world could have closed down in 2020. Because if everyone understood, they would have laughed and said, as if we need to be scared. I think growing up in a home where my father and my mother were inventors, it was instilled to us, it's got to make sense. And that's how I looked at religion. It's got to make sense. That's how I looked at my faith in God. And I think faith in God and religion can sometimes be different. And also, it had to make sense in the body. Why might get sick. What can you do to bring about healing rather than a germ makes? I was thinking of writing a book called The Lost Art of Thinking, but apparently one's already been written. I'll have to think of another name.
That's an interesting one, Barbara. Obviously, it took a bit of time to put together Sustain Me, and it's a great book and it's very popular. What do you think you would write next? Or
I've just been asked to write a paper for a little booklet this guy in Germany wanted me to do, and it's how to achieve brain brilliance. And I guess it's just be like a little booklet. I just finished it yesterday, and I thought I'm going to use that as a skeleton, I think, for my next book, which is on the brain. It's something that's always interested me because I used to work as a psychiatric nurse and I really didn't see people get better, but I see people get better today from depression, anxiety, mental things, and I think there's a big need for that today.
Yeah. And how much do you think the mind plays in self-healing?
I think it plays a large part, but I've learned one thing in my many years on planet Earth, never to be absolute, because in some cases, the problem's obviously in the mind, but in other cases, that's up a small part of it. And I'm very hesitant to make a blanket statement on this, but I would agree with what you said, that I think in many cases the mind plays a big part.
Yeah, I think so. And willpower as well. Willpower is a difficult thing because a lot of people listen to what you say. For example, sleep, Barbara. Sleep's very important. You go to bed at what, 9 o'clock, roughly?
Well, we're summertime here, so with the clock change, 10 o'clock's fine. But I'm usually, last night I think I was asleep by about 9:30 and I woke up at 6. I'm very happy with that. I got a little more than 8 hours sleep. And when I do that, that revives me. And I think that's one of the keys to me being able to do what I do, is that I go to bed early, I get a good night's sleep.
And you think if I went to bed at 1 in the morning and got up at 9, I'm still getting 8 hours sleep, but it's not the same 8 hours, is it?
You're right, it's not the same. Dr. Neil Nedley, he's an American doctor. He wrote a book called Proof Positive. He's got an excellent chapter in there on sleep, and he shows that the pineal gland, it releases hormones between the hours of 10 and 3 sometime. That's 9 and 2 winter time. So that's the only time those hormones are released, and they're responsible for mood, increasing learning capacity, slowing down aging, a whole lot of great things, increasing healing. And it also proves the old adage, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy and wise, which is a adage we all know well, and the science is now showing this true.
Well, those old sayings, like an apple a day keeps the doctor away and all of those kind of things, I think there are things you could live your life by and you'd probably do quite well.
You would. So, yeah, it's true.
And with regards to books, Barbara, a lot of your knowledge has come from books and your own experience, tried and tested, and then you're communicating that information in a way that people can understand it.
Yeah.
The whiteboard works, your style works, it resonates with people, and it makes it go in. I went to see you in London, Barbara, and I love watching you online. And I get motivated and I think, yeah, I need to do that. And I'm in the business. I've got everything in here.
Yeah, that's that. I have proven that it works, and I think that I need to be an illustration that it works. And there's another adage, let's eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, tea like a pauper. That's another one that, time restricted eating today. That's what they're suggesting, that we eat twice 6 hours apart. So that's another one. But you brought another point, Steve, is that we see it, we hear it, it makes sense, but how do we do it? So that's where I think if the carrot's sweet enough, you'll want to do it. So it's a matter of looking at your life and thinking, now, how could I implement that in? Do you know that I could do this here and adjust this here? And I reckon I could do that. It's a matter of realistically looking and it's got to suit you. It's got to fit into your life. And then the challenge from God is found in 1 Thessalonians 5:21, where God says, prove all things. Prove it. Try it. Prove it. And you're proving it to yourself actually works. And then the last bit says, hold fast, which is good. In other words, it's Old English. It means hold on to it. And so that dip in that cold water, I was there in the morning, you just feel alive when you've done that.
You do. I have coached, probably don't stay in as long as I could. I hear 3 minutes is good, but I'm probably finished by a minute and a half. But it's still as cold as it will go.
A minute and a half's pretty good. In fact, I think I was in that cold this morning, 20 seconds.
I tip my hat to the cold plungers and the wild swimmers. I really do. That is a thing I admire. I can do it. I'm always apprehensive. I'm never looking forward to it. It always takes a lot to get me in, but I do feel better after it.
You do, and that's what you have to remember is I'm going to feel good after this. And I've been doing it for so many years, I hardly even give it a thought now.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, Barbara, I've got a couple of questions. I polled our followers on Facebook and I said we were having this interview and I asked them to put some questions together and vote the questions to the top. So I've got 2 or 3 questions to ask you. Question 1 is, if you could choose one herb or natural ingredient or remedy to have in your medicine cabinet, what would it be and why?
It'd have to be cayenne pepper. The reason I choose cayenne pepper because it helps in so many ways. In Leviticus 17:11 in the Bible, it says the life of the flesh is in the blood. So if you want more healing in any area, you want more blood. And that's what cayenne pepper does. It moves blood. So if your stomach's a bit upset, digestion's not good, take 1/3 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper with a little bit of water in it. And if you've lost feeling in the bottom of your feet, you can make a cayenne pepper compress to wrap on the bottom of your feet. And regarding a blood thinner, it's a very effective blood thinner. It also opens the arteries, all the capillaries, and strengthens the arterial wall. So I've just done a few areas where cayenne pepper can be helpful. And if you get a cut and it's bleeding, you put cayenne pepper in there, it'll seal the bleeding vessels. Some people say that hurt. I said, it's already hurting. And he tingles a little bit more. It'll settle.
I do like the cayenne pepper. I like it in food. But yeah, again, I'm surrounded by cayenne pepper and I probably don't take enough.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Now, the other question that was asked on us, what things do you do daily which you think are most important for a healthy life?
Well, I think I got a plan tomorrow today. So how I plan tomorrow today is I've got to have most of my food. So I had breakfast at 8 o'clock and I had a main meal at 4 o'clock. And that's where I am at the moment, and that works well for this family. By the way, all their 4 children, they eat that way. And a lot of people don't think children can, but I watch these kids at lunchtime, plateful after plateful, salad, eggplant, lentils. It's amazing what kids will eat when they're hungry, when they're not given. So anyway, back to what I do. And so because I ate my main meal at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I'll be able to get to bed by probably 9:30. I usually read for a while. That puts me off to sleep. And then I'll wake early. And because I wake early, I've got time. I always pray. I've got a lot of people to pray for. 8 children and 24 grandchildren and 3.5 great-grandchildren. The team back at Misty, your team, Steve, wherever I am, I'm praying that God will have his hand over that God will give wisdom in my lectures. Then I always read. I always read something from the Bible to get wisdom for the day. And then I run up the hills and dive into the cool pool and breakfast at 8. One thing I forgot to mention is I'm usually able to drink about 3, sometimes 4 cups of water. So I woke and I ate at 8. So that's lots of time to drink water. Now, my lecturing this morning, so I lectured quite a bit this morning. I lectured from 9 to 10, and then I answered questions from 10 to 10:30. We had a break 10:30 to 11. I lectured from 11 till 12, questions till 12:30. That's pretty heavy going. And that's when I need to back off. And I had a little power nap, and then had the main meal. So these are some of the things that I have found enable me to keep up the schedule that I keep up, because my schedule's I go to bed and read, and then I'm again. So you see what I mean? For tomorrow, I need to plan today. If I have a late evening meal and I go to bed late, I'm not going to get up till late, and see that in the whole process gets interfered.
I like a big breakfast, I must admit. And there's a lot of people online in the UK and globally talking about not eating till 5 o'clock and things like that. I don't think I could do it, and I don't think I'd be good to be around. I need a breakfast.
That's right. It makes no sense to eat at the end of the day. That's the end of the journey. When you're going on a journey in your car, you fuel up your car at the beginning of the journey. We need to fuel up our car at the beginning of the day. If people eat a large meal late, they're not interested in breakfast. I'm interested in breakfast. So my breakfast this morning, I'm in Andalusia and the figs are on. So I had, maybe I had about 6 figs. I had a peach, a chia seed, I had almonds and Brazil nuts. Then I had some sourdough bread that they'd made, and I had olives and avocado. Now, I was not hungry until we had lunch at 4 o'clock. So what do we have at 4 o'clock at lunch? There were 2 salads. One had red lentil noodles in it, and it had some olive and chopped up beetroot. Oh, there's a whole lot in there. And another salad had a lot of lettuce and little tomatoes from the garden and more olives. We're in olive country, of course. 70 million olive trees apparently in this area. The hot dish was eggplant. They call it orbi, and that was from the garden here. And then another dish had lentils and carrots and onions and garlics. So I had a very nice meal and lots of fiber. All your different fibers feed different microorganisms, and my stomach's very happy on that meal, and I know I won't be hungry till tomorrow morning. And if I do get hungry, I just drink water.
And do you always take Celtic salt with the water?
I do. Little crystal of Celtic salt. I've got a tiny little container in my handbag, and my grandchildren all know about that little container. They're often coming up to my bag and helping themselves to a little bit of salt, and I don't stop them, because the next thing they do is reach for the water.
Absolutely. My kids love Celtic sea salt as well. We go through a lot of it in here as a result yourself. I spoke to the warehouse who ships it, and they said, "Who the hell's this Barbara O'Neill woman?"
I love supporting local industries, and that thing I'm very happy to do.
And the problem is, Barbara, it's back to this, people jumping on this bandwagon, these, not even scammers, there's a bandwagon that people, on TikTok for talking sake, there's people selling Celtic sea salt, a kilo bag for £16. We sell that for $5.99. That's the correct price. You know, it's the correct price. But I see people on TikTok selling it and saying, "Oh, sale, it's down from $16.99 to $12.99. That's still twice what I charge."
Yeah, it's wrong. And what we just hope that people investigate, and people. And you probably know that my daughter Emma recently was able to buy BarbaraO'Neill.com, and we're so glad that she was able to get that, because that's real easy for people to remember, and that can take you many places. BarbaraO'Neill.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And we bought BarbaraO'Neill.co.uk for you because I didn't want any scammers getting it.
Yeah,
and I didn't.
That's great.
I saw it was available, and I bought it. I said to Michael, "I've bought it. It's yours."
Oh, Steve, that's great to hear. Yeah.
Barbara, on this Western medicine thing, I've had a couple of times in my life where I've been to the doctors as a young guy. I'm from Glasgow, Barbara. I don't know if you know much about Scotland.
Well, one thing I do know is I know that those from Glasgow have got the strongest strongest accent.
It is a strong accent. Mine's is slightly more polished over the years just because I've been on the phones a lot and things like that. But I was going to tell you a story. Sometimes my breathing goes funny, Barbara, and I'll tell you why it does that. I was getting gallstone attacks. The first time I had it, I thought I was having a heart attack. Honestly, it was unbelievable. I had about 5 or 6 of them before I went to the doctors, and then I found out what it was. I asked them what to do. They said, change your eating habits and you should have your gallbladder removed. I'm not interested in that. So basically what happened is I had about 40 gallstone attacks. Now they say, and I don't believe this is correct, but they say a gallstone attack is as painful as giving birth. I don't think it is by any stretch of the imagination. I don't believe that it is, but it's very painful. I had about 40 attacks,
Steve,
Barbara.
Yeah, it's one of the most painful experiences.
It's really so. And I read that, again, you do your research. This is it. Everybody goes online and they search their ailments and you put the fear of God in yourself. But I read that you could get worse, that it could really damage you. I went to the doctors again. Is there anything you could do? Can you hoover it out? Not, we want to take it out. That's the only thing you can do now. And I reluctantly got it taken out, and my body's never been the same since. My breathing is off, my gut is off, the acid's coming up into my throat, which restricts, it's just one example. That's the problem with this Western medicine, this medicate, operate, radiate. I don't know how many times I said to them, why, the questions you would ask, why is it happening? Can we stop it naturally? What do I need to do? Tell me what I need to do to keep my gallbladder.
Unfortunately, they don't know, because they don't study health. They only study sick, and they don't study cause, which is why I think medicine has become very unscientific. It doesn't investigate the cause, because to investigate the cause, you have to look at lifestyle, and they don't study lifestyle. One of the reasons is that these gallstones develop is a very high acid diet. But they don't study that. They look at the acid alkaline in the blood, which is true, it cannot change, but the acid alkaline at the cellular level can change. And so in both my books, Sustain Me and Self-Heal by Design, I look at the acid alkaline balances in the body. And if you go to a mostly alkaline diet and castor oil compresses on the gallbladder area, which can little by little soften those stones, and also taking liver herbs, the bitter herbs like St. Mary's thistle, dandelion, even lemon is a great liver herb, and the sweet ginger. And we've seen people conquer that. Now, you probably don't want about that right now, but I think you also do want to know about it, because you'd love to be able to advise someone else.
I want other people to know. I mean, I felt I had no choice. I didn't want to do it, and I'd like other people to know that they could do something now with the first gallstone attack and change their lifestyle and keep that organ.
That's right. It's a knock on the door. It's saying, excuse me, can you do something? It's like you, Steve, you didn't know what to do, and the doctors couldn't do what to do, because again, it's a sickness industry. It shouldn't be called a health industry. It should be called a sickness industry. And the fact is, the doctors are suffering from the very diseases they're treating. What does that tell you?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what, Barbara? There was things I could do, cut down in fat and chips. I love chips. If I was full, I would still take a chip if someone offered me. It's pure greed.
Then you learn to make the healthy chips in the oven.
Yeah.
So, people are told stop the fat, but that's actually not quite right. Blood needs a little bit of fat, but it needs fats as in avocados, nuts, seeds, a little olive oil, a little coconut oil. They're the good fats, and that keeps the gallbladder nice and regular.
Yeah. It's a shame that people go through this, all these various operations and taking the advice, or they're on a whole host of pills, Barbara. That's a big thing for people. And I've read a lot of people saying that they've followed your instructions and they've managed to reduce their pills and medication or come off it. That's where they want to be.
That's right. I don't know anyone that likes being on medication. As I did, I didn't know there was any other way. So I gave my daughter 4 courses of antibiotics over 6 weeks. And that's what stopped me. I thought, I don't want this. And I think that's happening with a lot of people. The drugs mask the symptoms, but they're not healing. And an orthopedic surgeon said to me one day, We can set a bone, but we can't heal a bone. And that's true. It's only the body that heals. I met a lady in Transylvania last week. She's only 34. She's on a walking stick. And her history was just tragic, drug after drug after operation, and then a stem cell transplant. And now her body's reacting to that. And she said, the doctor said, go off this medication, I'll die. I said, I don't believe it. But she said, you said something that grabbed me. She said, the body's been designed to heal itself. By the end of the week, she had tears in her eyes. She said, you've given me hope. That is so nice, because she has had no hope from anywhere. Now, I don't know what will happen with this girl, but I think that there's always something you can do.
Well, at least she knows she's got hope. And this is the thing, Barbara. I think your videos online are great, and a lot of your videos have been online for a long time. You're still learning all the time, would you say?
Oh yes. In fact, I've got all these books I'm reading, and some books I get a lot out of, some books I get a little bit out of.
Well, I think, having watched you in London, because you're quite a quiet. I met you in London at the event you did there. It was great. It was a lot of people there, and it was amazing to see you on stage. You're different on stage than you are in real life. You come into your own on that stage, and you're very powerful. It's a powerful presentation. It reaches the back of the room. It's very engaging, and I think that's part of it for people who they're watching your stuff and they think, I need to do that, but then they're doing all their bad habit things and not changing, but they know you have some answers for them.
My aim is to help the people, because I felt the frustration. I felt the frustration of not wanting to give my child drugs, but not knowing what to do. I now know what to do, and I want that message out.
Yeah. And you've done well to get that out on the internet. And I think people who see you live, an additional bit of hope, motivation, willpower, to instead of just listening and think, I need to do that, and then go home and do what they've always done. I hope that in these upcoming events, that the power of the energy of the group of people who are all wanting answers, and being there with you live helps them to get the willpower they need to make the changes that their body's screaming out for.
Actually, I can do this. And over a many grave could be written, died of lack of willpower. And if someone says to me, I've got no willpower, I say, why not? Because the very act of doing this, the very act of drinking more water, going to bed earlier, it actually boosts your willpower. So it's a matter of the first step. And each mountain is climbed one step at a time. So I think it's important for people to look at their life and say, I couldn't do that, but I could do this. And some people might say, well, there's no way I can have my main meal at 4 o'clock. You know what I say to that? Well, don't have it at 4 o'clock. But when could you have it? So you look at your life and you play and you implement something reachable. You don't go for something that you can't. And little changes can be far more powerful than big ones.
Yeah, and people are looking for change. Barbara, I'm going to wrap up with a final question for you. You travel the world a lot, and you see the pressure that people under. You see people who come to see you, and they've got concerns about their health. They're not there for no reason. They're worried about a little niggle, or they've got something serious. They're looking for answers. What kind of hope do you have for the world based on what you're seeing out there?
I think what really helps me is I just live today. And I know Scotland's coming, London's coming, but I actually don't think about it. I concentrate on today. I'm in this beautiful 300-year-old house, and I've got these 4 little children running around me with white hair and golden skin because they're in the sun all day. And I related my meals today. That's what I think about. And I think many people, they bring stress into their life by concentrating on past pain and future worries. But if you concentrate on this moment and love this moment, love where you are, love who you are, if you don't like what you're doing, that can change. And today's the first day of the rest of our lives. Today we can make a change. And just going to bed a little earlier and getting up a little bit earlier, just starting to implement more water, Just start with those little challenges and just love the moment. Just love today. And I'm just a little lady, and that's how I do things, little by little. And I remember when my husband came into the garden once and he got the hoe, and the hoe was going everywhere and the flowers were flying, and we just said, oh, Michael, can you just start the lawnmower? Can you just do the whippersnippering or weed cutting over there? We'll keep him away from the garden. I think there's a place for people like Michael who are huge achievers. But there's certainly a big place for people like me. I just do a little bit here and a little bit there, and I just weed the garden a little bit at a time. And I just start little by little by little. And those little things make major changes. What's it? One little step for man can be a huge step. So it's not being too much on yourself. It's just looking at, it's like a lady came to me today and said, Barbara, I haven't had any coffee since I've been here, got this headache. How long will I have this headache? And I said, well, I've got some advice to you. Go and have half a cup of coffee. I said, your headache will go. And then tomorrow, have a third of a cup of coffee. And then the next day, have a quarter of a cup of coffee. Maybe by the weekend, you'll be off your coffee. So it's just little by little by little. You know, the old saying, a stitch in time saves nine. Just those little tiny bits and pieces, they just make a huge difference.
Yeah. That makes sense, Barbara. Baby steps are big steps in the grand scheme of things. It's better than no steps at all.
It's true. It's true. It's better than no steps at all. It's like the lady with chronic fatigue syndrome. She heard my lecture on exercise. First day she walked around the house. Second day she walked around the house twice. Third day 3 times. Fourth day 4 times. Fifth day she walked around the block. That's where you start. You just start with what you can do. And the cold shower. Start with 5 seconds, have a nice hot shower, and 10 seconds, you know, just little by little by little. You just do what you can.
Yeah, because that's what's happened. The other way, little by little, people have been poisoned with food and water and alcohol and cigarettes and all the rest of it. And it's little by little, but now it's decades worth built up in the system. You're not going to change it overnight.
You know, you're absolutely right. I often say to people, it took 20 years to get to this. It won't take 20 years to undo, but it might take 1 or 2. Praise God, it doesn't take 20 years to undo, but it's going to take a little bit of time.
People are impatient. Patience is a virtue, as you know, Barbara.
Well, the other thing to think of is this. It takes a lot to build a house, but not a lot to maintain it. So you might have a house that's not working very well, and you might have to do some renovations.
For people just to enjoy the progress, as you say, that woman getting up and walking around her living room.
Yeah.
That's an achievement. That's her 3-minute mile.
That's right. That's right.
This is where I think the rebounder is a good thing. 3 minutes in a rebounder, you feel it, Barbara. You really feel it. But it's great bang for your buck. If you don't have 3 minutes 3 times a day, exercise is not going to knock on your door and be easy.
No, it's not. And I also say to people, don't jump on it like the kids do and start leaping. You know, if you've got a sore back or a sore knee, that rebounder's not for me. No, start small. Small. The health bounce, your feet aren't even leaving the mat, just little by little.
Yeah, I think that's a great message, Barbara. The little by little message, the baby steps, we'll get there. You've started the journey. Don't make it a horrible journey, but start the journey, and little by little you'll get there. Well, Barbara, you're in London next. That's been run by Little Barn Health. Ricky and Naomi there, they're great friends of yours and ours. I hope anybody watching this can join you there as well.
Yeah, it'd be good.
And to all of the people who are coming to the event in Scotland, we are looking forward to welcoming you. We are going to have a great event. We want as many people watching from the sidelines in the virtual event, because it's a bit of an energy play, Barbara, getting all the energy together, and for all the right reasons at a very important time. We cannot wait to get you in Scotland. It's going to feel like a little holiday for you. It's a walk in the park. Everybody's excited.
That's good. That's good. Looking forward to it.
We're really looking forward to it. Yeah, we're going to look after you well.
That's good. We didn't
Okay.
have
Well,
time to
listen,
talk in the last London trip. It was like, hey, Steve.
I know. Well, listen, I was very,
London trip
I was
was-
conscious. I could see everybody wanting your time, Barbara, and well, we got a nice little chat, and it was good to have a bit of time. And I've never seen the books flying off the shelf like that. That was crazy that night. So,
Yes, it was.
Barbara, thank you for your time. Thank you for all that you do, and we cannot wait to see you in Scotland. And good luck in London. And please send my regards. I'll probably be speaking to Michael tomorrow anyway, but send my regards to Michael and the team back at Misty Mountain, and Jacqueline and the team, and Emma, and everybody else who helps you do what you're doing.
Will do, Steve. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, look forward to it, Barbara. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.